So I think I'm gonna let the Ocean's 8 thing go for now until I have something new to say. But like Kate Blanchett's character would wear this top with like a blazer or maybe like a leather jacket. I was gonna say a cool leather jacket. Hello and welcome to my July reading wrap-up. I just realized that I have not gathered the books around me, so I won't be showing them, but like I'll tell you the titles. So the first book I read this month is Are You My Mother by Alison Bechdel. It is not really, it's another graphic novel memoir that Alison Bechdel wrote. She wrote Fun Home, which I reread earlier this year, and I saw the musical. Loved it. Well, I thought it was time to read Are You My Mother, which I had been wanting to read for a while now. So this graphic novel focuses more on current Alison, as you may say, and her relationship with her mother. She does touch on like when she was younger. It focuses more on the age that she was at the time when she was writing the book, her relationship with her mother, her going to therapy and working things out, and also she really talks about this famous psychoanalyst, Donald Winnicott. I would say if you're going to read this, read Fun Home first, just because she does talk about it, and I feel like that's the first book that she had. She wrote Fun Home first, and then she wrote Are You My Mother, and she talks about Fun Home and trying to write a second book and just struggling with that. I really enjoy how she kind of like looks back and reflects on her life. Yes, also listen to the cast album if you haven't, because it's so good. Also parts of it make me really sad, but I still love it. The second book that I read this month is Maurice by Ian Forster, the only book that I have right next to me. So I had read A Room with View a few years ago, read Howler's End last month, and now I thought might as well just finish off this collection so I can put it on my shelf and not have it in a pile of my to-be-read books. I did not know what Maurice is about at all. When I started reading it, I realized it's a love story between two men, and I was like so happily surprised. It takes place in the earliest 20th century. It follows Maurice. You get to see him like in his early school days very briefly in the beginning, and then his days in university, and then in adulthood. And it's during his university years. For 2 years he falls in love with Clive, another student, and they keep their relationship secret, obviously because of the time that they're living in. You get to see like first love and how that relationship grows and what happens to it. I was really worried that it would end in a rather depressing way because of the time it takes place in. So if you don't want to know anything more about the book, because I'm going to spoil it a bit, then I'll put a timestamp at the bottom and you can like jump to that time. But if you do, then, so I was really worried that it would kind of be depressing and might end in death because the relationship with Clive ends. Clive marries a woman. Clive tries to forget that he was ever in a relationship with Maurice. Clive still wants to be friends, but in a strictly friends sense. Maurice is struggling with being gay, and it's hard and it's tough, but it ends happily. I was not expecting that. Ian Forster originally wrote this in 1913 and 1914, but he did not think this would be publishable, especially because it focuses on a gay love story, but also because it has a happy ending. And he thought that would be controversial. In my edition, at the very end, he has written like a letter, a note that he wrote in 1960 about the story, which I think should really be read after it, because I was really happy to like to see his perspective and whatnot. I'm not sure if it's included in every edition, but it's called a terminal note. He never published this while he was alive. He showed it to a few people, and in 1971, after he died, Maurice was published. I would definitely say it's worth a read. I was really like happily surprised by it. The next book that I read was Possessing the Secret of Joy by Alice Walker. Alice Walker is like becoming one of my favorite writers because if I see one of her books, especially in a secondhand shop, I'll just like pick it up. Possessing the Secret of Joy follows Tashi, which is she was actually a very minor character in The Color Purple, which I don't remember because I read that years ago, but she thought that there was more to tell of her story, so she wrote a whole book about her. Tashi is from a fictional African country named Olinka. She marries an American man. They move to America. The country that she's from does female genital mutilation, and she never got this done as a kid, which is when they do it. When she becomes a teen, she feels like she is missing this and she should get this done, so she flies back. She gets the circumcision done. You get to like witness her struggling with this and struggling between two cultures and trying to understand why this was like forced upon young girls. Alice Walker is not here for female genital mutilation. It's horrible. It's horrible. If you are uncomfortable with that, it doesn't go in too much detail, but the whole book does talk about it throughout. You get multiple perspectives from the books, so you get Tashi's perspective, but you also get other people in her family or other people that she's around and their perspective of what she's going through and like their life. I really enjoyed it. And the last book that I'll be talking about is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. This novel is set in 1941 and it focuses on Piccola, a young African-American girl who is consistently told that she's ugly and she really wants blue eyes because she associates blue eyes and blonde hair with beauty. It is a heartbreaking and very devastating novel, but I feel like it's totally worth the read. You get multiple perspectives, so you get Piccola's perspective, but you also get the people around her talking about their own life and their own situation, what they're going through. I feel like it's a quite short book, but it gives a really well-rounded view of all the characters. I would really recommend it. Those are the books that I read this month. I had some good books. Like sometimes I look at all the books that I own and that I haven't read and I'm like, you know, there's nothing that I'm in the mood for. But then I read 3 books in a row that I like absolutely love, which happened this month. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of these books and what you've thought or what you've been loving this month and that kind of maybe has surprised you. So yeah, that is all. Bye guys.